Try My Habits here to record another voiceover for this training log. So I'm just doing a general warm up, which is something I do every time I go train, not only because it makes me feel more generally prepared to attack the session, but also and primarily because gets me in the right mindset. It allows me to stay focused on what I'm about to do. So put away all the other thoughts regarding everything else. So the life you leave behind when you enter the gym, I guess, all the thoughts that run through your head all the time and that you need to focus on and get back to after the session. Just use the warm up to forget about those things, or just to put them on a shelf to get back to them after, so you can actually focus on moving your body and performing how you want to, and you actually have enough space in your head to listen and pay attention to what's happening as in your body as you're doing your session, so you avoid just going through the motions aimlessly, right? Yeah, this is another one of my weekly sessions. So as I've discussed previously, I have 2 upper body sessions and 2 full body sessions, just because of my goals. This is what makes the most sense for me currently. Yeah, now I'm just doing a couple of pull-ups because the main exercises today will be push-ups, sorry. So the main exercises will be push-ups and pull-ups, and I'm just deciding on the grip width for the push-ups. Then I'll do my pull-ups as well before moving on to the weighted sets. Yeah, this is just grease the groove, I guess. Just getting myself feeling ready. It's part of the process for me. I don't mind wasting quote unquote time on these things, whatever. Okay, so putting on my backpack. This is always the hardest part of the set. 15 kilos here. This was the last week working with 15 kilos. Since then I've moved on to 20 kilo sets, and just 2 sets here. I've been dropping my volume somewhat, but previously I would be doing 5 sets, but I feel like since I got seriously got the hang of the biomechanics of the movement and where I want to keep tension, so stacking my rib cage and going only to the end range of the pecs, so allowing the pecs to stretch and nothing else, instead of being overly fixated on stretch, quote unquote, and moving too much and allowing the tension to leave, so be somewhere else besides the pecs. So it would not serve the purpose I want from this exercise. So I really focus on keeping my rib cage stacked and just going to my pecs end range instead of being driven by some outside force like metric. So having to touch the floor, for example, that's also why I initiate the movement from the floor. So from the floor, I get to my position and I feel the chest stretch, and I know, okay, this is the end range, and then I just go up and go back to that place at the end of each rep, making sure I'm actually doing what I want to be doing and keeping the tension where I want it to be. Now I'm getting ready for my pull-up set, and something similar happens here. So I can bang out way more pull-ups if I ignore my cues, my technical cues. So the biomechanics of the movement and where I want to keep the tension. So for example, if I let myself go into a complete dead hang at the end of each rep, I could do significantly more reps with the same weights. For example, I think the last time I've tried this without caring about technique, I did about 15 with this 15 kilos, and here I just got 9. The difference is that if I go into a complete dead hang, I allow my traps to do a lot of the work. And here, I don't let my shoulders touch my ears. I just go into an active dead hang, I guess you could call it. And I allow the teres major and lats to do the pulling. This is extremely important, and there's just such a big discrepancy there because I'm trap dominant. So I would prefer to pull with my traps, but that's not what I want to do. So I guess my body would prefer to. It would be more. It would be better to lift more weight, but it wouldn't put the tension where I want it to be. I want to focus on lats and teres major, and increasing their strength. So and obviously their size, because if you're getting stronger, you're adding mass to those muscles. So yeah, I need to keep the tension, right, and make sure I know what I'm doing and how technique influences where the tension is. Yeah. Then I move on to my ring push-up sets. I just do one set now. As I said, I've been reducing volume. I was under recovered most of the time previously because I was focusing too much on volume, and now that I'm much better at knowing where I keep the tension, if I'm doing it correctly, I just can't recover on time. So just do what you can recover from instead of thinking about how much can I do or how little. Just do exactly, like, listen to your body and do exactly as much as you can do. Here I focus on the same cues, and I really focus on the shortening part. So at the top, the end range, I shorten, taking advantage of the freedom of the rings. Then I move on to behind the neck pull-ups. These just feel great for my shoulder mobility. I feel them a bit more on my rear delt as well, so I guess that's a bonus. And really the squeeze at the lower lat. So just overall great. I just love involving mobility stuff into my strength training whenever it's reasonable. It's just the more you can get, like, just more bang for your buck, you know? Now move on to isolation stuff. Previously, I've been guilty of neglecting the importance of isolation movements. Not anymore. I take them very seriously, as you could see by previous workouts. And I think this set was also pretty damn hard. And one thing you'll notice is that as the set goes on, I slowly pull my pants up more and more. I'm not sure why I do that, but for some reason it just feels better as I do it. It does look weird in the footage afterwards, but yeah. Also, no particularly reason for me to be doing this unilaterally. I do like unilateral work, so it's a bonus, but it's also, I'm doing it because of my setup, because of my bench. I don't have a preacher curl station, otherwise I could also just do them both arms, but I also see no problem with doing it unilaterally, and I like unilateral work from time to time. I do it with some exercises, some muscle groups. It just adds to variety, I guess, and then you can just move in a circuit because you do one arm, the other arm, then you move on to tricep isolation, and then you just repeat because your right arm's already rested. Then there's no need to add rest times, and it just saves you time. Anyway, moving on to the next section. Okay, so now for this week's dose of somewhat cohesive scattered thoughts. This is a text on freedom I wrote about 3 years ago upon finishing Attack on Titan, and I just had freedom as a concept stuck in my head for quite some time, and I wrote something about it just to get it off my chest. Freedom, the idea that keeps the majority of society moving, promising it that one day they will be free of it all. Nothing more than a convenient concept that allows you to excuse everything, since you will be fine because one day you will be free to do as you please. Simply a mechanism that keeps you moving forward. However, this does not mean freedom is something impossible to accomplish on your own. In fact, freedom is quite easy to conquer. The more restrained you are currently, the freer you will be in the future. But even if you conquer freedom, you are likely to be disappointed, since it is not a concept that deserves all the credit it receives. It's an inconsistency that is only convenient in name, since it is limited. In reality, you are not actually free to do everything as it suits your tastes, because someone else's tastes will interfere. Even if you accomplish freedom, there is always someone who has more freedom than you. To conclude the topic, now you are free, or at least as free as you want to be. You are free to believe everything I said and free to completely disregard it. I, for example, don't believe this at all, since I will have to work for at least 50 years, and the idea that retirement equals freedom seems like a good source of motivation.